You've been fooled. Every single time you walk into a supermarket, you're being deceived by what vegetables are supposed to look like. And if you've planted a garden based on what you see in those stores, I have shocking news for you. You're growing something completely different. My name's Adam Grove from Backyard Crops, and today I'm revealing the 5 biggest vegetable frauds that deceive gardeners year after year. These plants sit on a throne of pure lies, and honestly, it's time we stop wasting our effort on them. But here's the crazy part. The vegetables that trick us the most are actually the best ones to grow. Stick around to the end because I'm going to show you exactly why these so-called failures are actually gardening gold. Before we get started, if you're serious about growing real food at home, hit that subscribe button right now. I post new gardening strategies and honest plant reviews every single week. And if this video helps you stop wasting seeds on dead-end plants, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments which vegetable has fooled you the most.
Awful vegetable number 1, romaine lettuce. Let's start with the biggest plant con job of all time, romaine lettuce. I've been to grocery stores countless times. I've seen what's sitting in those plastic containers. Romaine is supposed to look pathetic. It's supposed to be pale green with weird reddish streaks running through it. It should look like something that's been sitting on a shelf neglected for days. The leaves are supposed to look limp and sad. That's what lettuce looks like everywhere. So I planted romaine lettuce in my garden last season, and what I harvested blew my mind. Instead of getting those droopy, sad-looking heads, I got massive, beautiful, firm heads of this alien-looking cabbage. Seriously, I've never seen anything close to this at a grocery store. Never. Not once in my entire life have I walked into a produce section and found heads that look like what I grew. Now, here's where it gets really weird. I've been eating this lettuce for weeks, and it tastes completely different from store-bought stuff. Store lettuce is supposed to taste like crunchy water. That's literally the best description. It has zero flavor. It's just wet leaves. But the lettuce from my garden, it actually tastes like something. It tastes green. It tastes fresh. It has actual flavor profiles that change the moment you bite into it. Let me talk about the money side of this because it's absolutely ridiculous. Store-bought romaine costs $3 to $4 per bag. I bought 1 packet of seeds. 1. And when I opened that packet and poured out the seeds, I realized I could have planted hundreds of heads of lettuce for what that single bag costs in the store. I'd already planted 2 entire garden beds with these seeds, and I still had hundreds left over. The math doesn't make sense. How are grocery stores charging so much for something that costs almost nothing to grow? Now, lettuce has this reputation for being difficult. People say it's too sensitive to temperature. It struggles in cold weather, and it bolts in heat. It's this finicky plant that requires perfect conditions. So I did something radical. I hung agricultural fabric over the beds as shade cloth. We got 2 nights that dropped to 25 degrees. I was certain the plants would die. But they didn't. They survived perfectly fine. Last summer, I used shade cloth to keep the afternoon sun off the plants. You know what happened? They didn't bolt. They didn't get bitter. They just kept growing, producing these massive heads the entire season. Now I'm standing in front of all these incredible heads of lettuce that supposedly don't exist, and I'm genuinely confused. I have something in my hands that I supposedly can't grow, something that's supposedly impossible, something that grocery stores charge $3 for, and I'm holding it right now from my own backyard. For those watching, if you've had success with homegrown lettuce that looks nothing like store produce, comment below. I want to hear about it. And if you're subscribing to Backyard Crops, you're already a part of a community that...
Awful vegetable number 2, carrots. Next on the list of total vegetable deceptions is the carrot. Garden-grown carrots fail at the one thing grocery store carrots are actually famous for. They don't give you digestive problems. And let's be honest, grocery store carrots are kind of legendary for that specific property. They taste like crunchy nothing, and your body definitely responds to that in unpleasant ways. But garden carrots? Totally different story. Grocery store carrots have this consistency where you're guaranteed to get the exact same bland, watery flavor every single time. Crunch, sure, but taste? Zero. It's just water pretending to be food. Garden carrots are weird because they have something that store carrots completely lack: actual flavor. Real, noticeable, different flavor. Here's the science part that blew my mind. Carrots have this strange property where their sugar content changes based on temperature. The colder the weather when they mature, the more sugar they develop. The warmer the weather, the more starch they have. So if you grow carrots in fall, winter, and early spring, basically when it's freezing, they develop high sugar content. Store carrots are usually harvested in warm weather, so they're loaded with starch instead. That's why one tastes amazing and one tastes like dirt. It's actually offensive that I can just walk out into my backyard, put my hand in the soil, feel around the top of the carrot, and pull out monsters like these. Look at these things. They're almost too perfect. This big beast right here, this isn't a carrot. This is a backup plan. This is insurance for my family's food security. These mutants barely look like they came from the same plant species as grocery store carrots. Now, everyone talks about how dangerous unwashed store carrots are because of contamination and cross-handling. But when you pull carrots straight from your own soil, from your own clean garden, where you're not using raw manure or sketchy fertilizer, you just wipe off some dirt and eat them. That's it. They're completely safe because they never touched contaminated equipment or other hands. Listen to this. Hear that crunch when I bite into it? That sound doesn't come from grocery store carrots. Those taste rubbery. This is actually snappy. It's actually fresh. The sugar is actually there, and it's actually sweet, despite being this enormous. If you're skeptical about growing carrots at home, I get it. But try it once, and you'll never go back to store carrots. Subscribe to Backyard Crops for more vegetable comparisons that will change how you think about your grocery store produce. And please share this with anyone you know who's considering a garden.
Awful vegetable number 3. Garlic. Garlic won the least popular crop award, and the reason is clear. It brings out humanity's worst trait: laziness. Garlic is basically zero maintenance after you plant it, and nobody wants to deal with zero maintenance crops because where's the struggle? Where's the constant panic about pests and plant death? Here's what you do with garlic. You dig trenches about 1 foot apart. You plant individual cloves about 2 to 3 inches deep. You amend the trenches with organic fertilizer and bone meal. You backfill everything with compost and add a thick mulch layer on top. If you're fancy, like I am, you run drip irrigation lines through the beds. And then you do absolutely nothing. You literally set it and forget it. Gardening is supposed to be stressful. It's supposed to be about being terrified to leave your house for extended periods because your plants will definitely die without you there. It's supposed to be about cursing when insects show up and destroy everything. It's supposed to keep you anxious and busy. But garlic doesn't care about any of that. It doesn't care if you ignore it. It doesn't care if bugs show up. It doesn't care if you forget about it for months. It just grows. Plus, nobody even wants to eat garlic because it's spicy and bitter and smelly. Garlic oil is literally used as a natural insect repellent. It works so well at keeping pests away that it also keeps away door-to-door salespeople. It's basically a security system you can eat. Here's the ridiculous part. Garlic is almost impossible to kill. I could move to northern Alaska, plant hardneck garlic in zone 1 or 2 where winters are brutal, and it would thrive. You could live anywhere on Earth. The garlic doesn't care. It grows regardless. And if you happen to live somewhere tropical where garlic hates the heat, simple. You stick the garlic heads in a brown paper bag and put them in your refrigerator for 4 to 8 weeks. That chill trick triggers them to produce massive bulbs. That's it. That's the entire solution. After you harvest your garlic, it stores for 4 to 6 months in a basement or garage. My garlic right now, I planted it from leftover garlic from my harvest last June. And it never fails. Every year, I just save the biggest, healthiest heads and plant them again. I've been recycling the same garlic for years. It cost me $0 to keep growing it. 0. Nothing in gardening is supposed to be this easy. Nothing is supposed to be this low maintenance. Nothing should work this well.
For that reason alone, garlic has to be a scam. The fact that garlic is this reliable means more people should be growing it. If you've had success with garlic, tell me about it in the comments. And if Backyard Crops is helping you discover vegetables that actually work, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos that expose more gardening myths.
Awful vegetable number 4, onions. Onions are the vegetable that somehow turned itself into something less healthy than French fries, according to certain nutrition trends. But onions have this reputation for being complicated because they come in 3 different types: short day, intermediate day, and long day. These 3 types correspond to latitude. Your summer day length determines which type you need to grow. The further north you live, the longer your summer days are. So northern gardeners need long day onions, southern gardeners need short day onions. Middle latitude gardeners need intermediate day onions. It's this whole system that sounds super complex. I used to love growing onions because I thought this complexity made them special and difficult. Then I decided to run an experiment. Onion greens are pretty cold hardy. Winter days are short everywhere on Earth, no matter where you live. So I wondered, what happens if I plant short day onions during winter when the days are naturally short? I tried it last year and completely blew my mind with the results. I harvested beautiful onions in late winter. I grew them all through late fall, all through winter, almost into early spring, and they grew incredibly well off-season. They didn't get as large as my spring onions, but I expected that. I still got 70 to 75% of normal bulb size, all with zero maintenance, growing completely unprotected in ice and snow. It was so easy that now I can't stop planting winter onions. Here I am again with a whole bed of short day onions and some shallots mixed in, and they're thriving even in the middle of December, even in freezing conditions. I grew this entire massive bed for probably $3 in seed costs. By March 1st, I'll be harvesting full bulbs. The best part about onions is they store for months just like garlic. Not quite as long, but you can easily keep them fresh for 2 to 3 months. In perfect conditions, sometimes 4 to 5 months. So I dug trenches, planted the onions about 4 inches apart, added fertilizer and bone meal, ran my drip lines, and now I'm going to get another zero-effort harvest that sails through winter in North Carolina. Anything this easy and this productive absolutely has to be a complete scam. Winter gardening changes everything. If you're trying to grow food during cold months, Backyard Crops has strategies that actually work. Subscribe now and share this with someone who thinks winter gardening is impossible. Together we can prove them wrong.
Awful vegetable number 5, kale. When I was growing up in the 90s, kale was just a nickname for the name Caleb. Nobody ate it, nobody talked about it. Now kale has its fingers in literally everything. Walk into any grocery store, and kale is everywhere. There are more varieties of kale in the produce section than there are types of lettuce. Kale salad, kale chips, kale smoothies, kale in every health drink. Nothing this trendy should ever be trusted. This is a major red flag. First problem with kale, it's too beautiful. That beauty is suspicious. You've got these dazzling blue kales that look almost unreal. You've got beautiful mint green curly kales that look like they belong in a magazine. You've got red Russian kales with these deep crimson colors. There's just too much variety, and it's all too stunning. We should all be wary of something this pretty. Second problem is kale is way too easy to grow. This stuff is cold hardy to 10 degrees without any protection at all. With protection, it can survive below 0. It grows in zone 6 and can survive the entire winter and come back in spring. And here's where it gets wild. Kale is basically a biennial. It lives longer than 1 year. You can plant it in late summer and it grows all through fall, all through winter, into spring, and even into the following summer. One planting occupies your bed for an entire calendar year. But the strangest thing about kale is that nothing this healthy should taste good. Nothing this nutritious should be delicious. That breaks all the rules of vegetables. But here's what happens. After we've gotten hit by 6 or 7 frosts and freezes, something weird happens to kale. It gets sweet. The cold triggers a chemical change. The plant converts starches into sugars to protect itself from freezing. So the colder it gets, the sweeter it tastes. Nothing that looks this tough and this green should be sweet. But I swear to you, it actually is. So sweet that even the stems have this odd sweetness that feels almost wrong. You look at a leafy green like this, and you don't expect it to be sweet when you bite into it. But it is. Now, I'm being completely honest with you. Here where I live on the southeastern coast of North Carolina in Zone 8B, my kale doesn't survive the summers. Not because it can't handle the heat, but because of insect pest pressure. We get so many cabbage moths and cabbage loopers and harlequin bugs that they destroy the plants. If I could protect them, they'd survive through fall and keep producing. Sometimes stripping all the leaves off so the worms have nothing to eat actually works. But honestly, it's just easier to start fresh in fall with new plants. If you want to grow kale, I recommend starting new seedlings in the fall if you live somewhere with heavy pest pressure in summer. And if you can cover them with insect netting and your winters aren't brutal enough to kill kale, you can get year-round harvests. But no matter where you live, always be suspicious of a leafy green that tastes good raw.
These are 5 terrible, awful, no-good vegetables that you should apparently never grow in your garden again. Obviously, this whole presentation was basically one big exercise in sarcasm and dad jokes so bad they'd make your parents cringe. But sometimes when you make hundreds of gardening videos, you need to have a little fun with it. You need to enjoy yourself. You need to laugh at the contradictions between what stores sell and what you can actually grow. I hope you've enjoyed this and found it entertaining and got something valuable out of it. More importantly, I hope this really drives home the point that growing food at home during cold months is absolutely worth your time. Even if you live in a harsh climate where fall and winter mean freezing temperatures and clouds and darkness, it's genuinely rewarding to have a few things growing outside. It's worth your effort just to see some green plant life during the bleakest part of the year, just to get some fresh air and vitamin D. Many of these vegetables genuinely taste better in cold weather. The coldness forces them to develop higher sugar concentrations, so you get produce that tastes better than store vegetables at a fraction of the cost. It's incredibly rewarding to be growing anything during winter months. The vegetables featured in this video are genuinely some of the easiest, lowest maintenance crops you can possibly grow. They work, they produce, they taste amazing, they store well, they cost almost nothing to maintain. If this video helped you understand what vegetables are actually worth your time and effort, hit that like button and subscribe to Backyard Crops. Turn on the notification bell so you get alerts every time I release new content. Share this with someone else who's thinking about starting a garden but thinks it's too complicated or too hard. Let them know the truth. Thank you for watching Backyard Crops. I'll see you in the next video.